We'll continue our conversation about the president-elect. Donald Trump begins his thank you tour in the Midwest this week. He's using it as a forum to take aim at his enemies and also talk about his campaign promises. Is this a sign of things to come in the Trump administration? So let's bring in our political panel for a fair and balanced debate and also some insight. Sean Noble is a GOP strategist and president of American Encore, and Ben Wickler is the Washington director of MoveOn.org. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Sean, I want to start with you. The thank you tour, we saw it kicked off. Do you think it's effective? Do you like it? Is this his populist style? Although it's unprecedented, this is what we saw during the campaign.
Well, this is very much like what Donald Trump is about. I mean, he wants to have the ear of the people. And so I think this is actually a good move for him because it gives him the ability to go out, tell the people that he's going to keep the promises that he made, and show that he's listening to them. Now, one thing that we do know about Donald Trump is that he really does thrive from these types of rallies. I remember when he came to Arizona late in the campaign, many people were saying, why in the world is he going to Arizona? Is Arizona at risk? I said, Arizona is the place where he comes to get the recharge. I think the people loved him here, and this is how he feeds the ability to continue to go forward. I mean, I think he really gets charged up when he's in front of crowds, and it gives him the energy to continue to go forward.
All right, Ben, I'm going to assume that this isn't something that you would do as an advisor, and perhaps you may not think it's best for him. But I do want to ask you, now that he is the president for all, does he need to change the style of these type of rallies because he's not necessarily catering to his base anymore?
Well, I think these rallies are great for Donald Trump, and I think they're bad for America. Frankly, I wish that instead of, speaking to tens of thousands of his biggest fans, he'd been reading his intelligence briefings. He's only had 2 intelligence briefings since becoming president-elect. The problem is, the old idea was bread and circuses if you wanted to distract the public. And it seems like right now he's going for an all-circus, no-bread approach. The GOP has just blocked overtime pay extensions. He's talking about canceling people's health insurance. We need a president who's focused on actually delivering for the public as opposed to just reaping.
Well, first of all,
that's why he went to Indiana. He went to Indiana to deliver on a promise of keeping jobs in the United States. I mean, say what you will about whether, what the circumstances were. He said we were going to keep jobs in the U.S. He did it with Carrier. He went to talk about it.
Carrier, the plant staying here, that same day that he was in Indiana was the day that 250,000 Indianans were supposed to get overtime pay. But that has been blocked by a GOP lawsuit, and the Trump administration is showing no signs that they're actually going to contest that fight.
That's a whole other story.
The Trump administration isn't in office yet. I mean,
okay, so we can talk about that overtime. That is a whole different topic that President Obama proposed. But I do want to go back to Carrier because that was a big announcement this week, and I want to start with you, Ben, because this is something that you say that perhaps you're critical of, but the fact of the matter is that we haven't seen a terrible amount of Democrats say that they are critical of this because he's keeping 1,000 jobs in the United States.
No, I love keeping jobs in the United States. I think jobs are great. I think the question is where you put your focus. Is it on untilting the playing field so that workers have a decent shot and the jobs stay here? Or is it running across the playing field and swinging your bat at whoever you might see there? And the challenge is that President Trump is not going to be able to go factory by factory. And even if he does, that's not the way that you set up an economy. You set up an economy by making rules that people follow that actually work for regular workers. And for every one Carrier plant that he makes a big show out of, there are a whole lot of other jobs that are disappearing because the rules are rigged by those at the top.
All right, Sean, I want you to respond to that.
Well, I think that, look, he's not even the president yet, and he's already being able to have some impact on what's happening with the economy and with jobs, and that says a lot. I mean, he's actually getting in and doing what he can on what he actually can do. He can't do anything about regulation right now because he's not in office. He doesn't have his team in place. So I think we ought to have this conversation sometime in April or May after he's had a chance to come in, because I think what you're going to find is you're going to find that there's going to be a lot of policies that come into play that reduce the regulatory burden on business, and we're going to have higher employment, and we're going to have jobs coming back to the United States.
All right, Ben, I'm going to give you the last word on this.
Sure. I mean, he's putting his team in place right now, and he's putting in place people who've profited massively off of home foreclosures, off of plant closures and layoffs. I mean, this is a team of billionaires that know exactly how to represent their interests. So what I'm worried about is that we're going to see a lot of policies that represent those at the very, very top at the expense of everybody else. We see the Trump universification of the federal government. Now, I hope that's not what happens, and I hope that when we talk in May, we'll both agree that he's actually delivered for working people in America. But frankly, who he's appointing right now really suggests that he wants those who have their thumb in a big way on the balance scale against the interests of regular people.
All right, Ben and Sean, thank you so much.
Obama's Geithner, Treasury Secretary, came right out of the TARP
well,
bailout.
and
so,
there are
you know,
some people in President Obama's cabinet that are also quite wealthy, the Pritzker family.
Yeah, look, I am all for cleaning house, bringing in people who've been fighting for working families all their lives. I'd love to see that from a Trump administration with their next cabinet appointments. We'll wait and see.
All right. Well, I hope to have you both back. Ben, Sean, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.